Baseball fans, it is time once again for another episode of Planes, Trains, Buses, and Ballparks. With over 50 years in professional baseball and making a multitude of fantastic relationships along the way, Frank Coppenbarger shares great stories with weekly guests from various areas inside of the game. It's all here on the Fans First Sports Network. Let's get ready to play ball. Here's Frank Coppenbarger.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Planes, Trains, Buses, and Ballparks. And today is a really special show, one that is really near and dear to my heart. So I want to talk all about it. Our guest today is the legendary clubhouse manager of the Oakland Athletics, Mr. Steve Vucinich. Steve, welcome.
Thanks, Frank. It's always good to be with you.
Always good to be with you, buddy. And today is extra special because today in Cooperstown, New York, the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Association is having a plaque unveiling for the very first Hall of Fame class of our group. And we're going to talk all about the Clubhouse Managers Association, our group, the honorees, and we're so lucky to have you. There are only two living guys on the inaugural class, and that's Steve with Oakland, and the Bay Area has the monopoly because the legendary Mike Murphy was with the Giants for so many years, and we'll talk about him as well. But Steve, what does it mean to you today to be in Cooperstown and to, go into the Hall of Fame of your peers?
You know what? It's such an honor, and I say thank you to baseball. It's a culmination of a good career, an honest career, more than anything, a fun career, and this job makes it so much fun. But to be honored in that inaugural class, it's just an honor. It's unreal. I mean, it's hard to comprehend.
Well, it's very special. There's 7 men going in there, yourself and 6 others today. 14 of your former counterparts are going to be in Cooperstown this morning for the event, either former or current clubhouse managers, and a total of a group of about 35 friends and family. And we're really excited for everything and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the fact that so many of them are showing up in this inaugural class shows the importance and the thanks that the Clubhouse Managers Association has towards the hall, wanting to make it a successful event, which I think it is as we go through today. But like I said, it's an honor to be there and be honored in front of so many of my peers.
Well, we're so thankful to the Baseball Hall of Fame for showing our group the respect in hanging the plaque that honors the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Association Hall of Fame. And it'll be in the Giamatti Research Center and Library area of the Hall of Fame there in Cooperstown. And, anybody that happens to tour Cooperstown will see a plaque with Steve's name and the other 6 guys on there, and many more names to come in the years ahead. And it's a great honor for all of us involved in that line of work. So Steve, do us a favor here and give the fans that are watching, the casual baseball fan, kind of a nutshell of what a clubhouse manager does.
Well, obviously, Frank, that position has changed so much over the years. In fact, when I retired, I laughed because it took 3 guys to replace me. They cut up my job 3 ways. But a clubhouse manager, equipment manager, is in charge of ordering everything you see on the field, from balls to helmets to bats to shoes, everything that the player wears as far as uniform components, and even more. And then behind the scenes, we have to arrange the clubhouse, keep it clean, keep it neat, keep it organized. We've got assistants that do laundry, that clean shoes, that just basically are there for players' needs. The game is involved so much that it's almost like a restaurant inside the clubhouse. All the new facilities are building state-of-the-art commercial kitchens in each clubhouse. The catering is more than just Kentucky Fried Chicken, or as when I started, the highlight was chili cheese dogs with sauerkraut. So, and then we're going back many, many years on that, but they were happy to have that. And you know what, I used to hear stories about the old clubhouse manager with the Washington Senators just put a sandwich on everybody's chair at the end of the game. So the job has evolved into much more than just ordering bats, balls, but there's budgeting involved, travel involved, hiring and of assistants and trusting them, and it's become a very large job.
And it takes a lot more manpower to do it now too. It's not just you and one assistant and a bat boy anymore. It's several people.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at some of the clubs that have 4 full-time assistants, and I don't say full-time. When I started, and I took over the visiting clubhouse in 1974, Charlie Finley only paid me for 9 months. So for the other 12 weeks, I had to go out and find another job if I wanted to survive. So, like I said, with more full-time assistants, bat boys and ball boys and clubhouse attendants are making better money now. But you'll see clubhouses have 6 or 7 of them just because the needs of the players. And I tell people, you just want the players to worry about showing up, putting on a uniform, and playing a game. You don't want to have them worry about anything else.
That's a good point. So, let's talk about the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Association. And you've been an officer with that group for a long time. Talk about the beginnings, how it used to be, and what it's like now.
You know what? It kind of came together. There was Brian Pillman, Bob Doty, Tony Miliaccio, Jim Schmeichel at the winter meetings in 1985 in San Diego. And we didn't even have a meeting room. We just kind of met outside on a bench at the Town and Country Hotel. And we said, we got to put something together. We have to keep all our guys together. Back in those days, we had to buy jock straps wholesale and sell them to the players. And some guys were charging more than others. We wanted to keep everything on an even keel. So when a player is traded or released and goes to a new club, he doesn't have sticker shock. So we kind of started that, and it kind of evolved into, hey, do we all want to do this? There were some clubs that were fearful because their clubs were so much anti-union, and we had to convince some of our own brethren that we're not in a union, we're an association, and we're only doing good. We have no negotiating rights across the board for anybody but ourselves. And so once we got over that, some of the clubs came back into the fold or came into the fold, Boston, Kansas City, a few others. So once we got almost everybody together, it became easier to deal as an association, both with Major League Baseball and the properties division, which governed the uniforms, the licensing, and all that. So it was a long road in. I remember our meetings in Atlanta in 1994, 93, and there was some discord there, but everybody came together on the same page and agreed, let's go forward. And now we do things, and I don't know if I'm skipping ahead, Frank, but between dues and our show, we do a trade show at the winter meetings every year, and companies participate with booths and stuff. This way they have a captive audience of all the equipment managers, and later in the day, all the minor league equipment managers. And they pay us for that, and that money goes into a scholarship foundation that we, over the years, I don't know what the numbers are, but we have funded full scholarships and part-time scholarships from bat boys, ball girls, clubhouse attendants, and even more. And plus the organization BAT, which is a baseball assistance team, we've written checks for $100,000 for some 3 or 4 years in a row now. So we are a charitable organization, but with an ultimate goal of having everybody on the same page and just everybody be together.
Yeah, I agree. When I started as a head clubhouse guy with the Phillies in '89, and I would say there was maybe only a third of what I would call clubhouse and equipment managers. Some guy's title was clubhouse manager, some was equipment manager. There were, a few visiting clubhouse managers there, like yourself. And, then it started to grow. There used to be a very large trade show that the major and minor league teams would all go to. Everything was sold there. From you could buy a scoreboard, you could design a ballpark, you could buy cups to put popcorn in, uniforms, bats, baseballs, whatever. So we would all kind of try to wait our turn with those vendors and be seen and put our orders in for the next year. And now, and again, back in those days, you started on a park bench. Then I think we evolved into Rob Wolf from the old American baseball cap batting helmet company, letting us use his hotel room. And then one time Chuck Shupp, who was with Louisville Slugger at the time, had a suite he let us use. And from there we grew into having our own representation, being part of the actual official agenda of the winter meetings, and having a conference room and having a full group there. And it's really been amazing to see how it's grown over the years.
It really has. I don't know what year it was, but we had a meeting and it kind of ended early. And so instead of going to 4 o'clock, it went to 3, and Louisville sprung for a couple cases of Bud Light. And I said, now we've really made it.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Now there's full breakfast, full lunch. It's kind of like being a baseball player. You get fed all the time now.
And don't have to fork out.
That's right. So, Steve, your career is pretty remarkable in itself, and I want to talk about it a little bit. 54 years with the Oakland Athletics. Pretty amazing. You couldn't have started much lower. Started as a peanut vendor at the old Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. And I want you to talk about that and how you got the next job in your career, which was working in the clubhouse as a bat boy and in the clubhouse. Talk about that.
Well, in 1966, the Coliseum opened up, and it was built really for the Raiders with the ideas of hoping to secure a franchise or expansion. So I worked as a peanut vendor in 66, 67. In 68, the A's moved out from Kansas City. As a coincidence, they hired 5 guys at the clubhouse. The coincidence part is I knew 4 of them. I knew 2 of them well and just knew 2 of them. And so after the opening day, the one I didn't know had resigned because he was playing ball and he knew he couldn't do both. And so he quit. I went down and talked to the then equipment manager, Al Zeke, who came out from Kansas City and was their inaugural equipment manager for years in Kansas City when the Royals expanded. And talked to him, and Joe DiMaggio was one of the coaches for the A's, the only other big league uniform he ever wore. And so he's standing there. He says, "Hey, kid, what school you go to?" And I said, "Mr. DiMaggio, I go to St. Joe's in Alameda." And he goes to Al, "Hey, he's a Catholic, hire him." So I'm 99% sure I would have got a job anyway, because I knew the Coliseum, I knew the grounds, I knew what the job entailed. And I don't think anybody else knew the job was opening, so nobody else applied. But to hear Joe say that, it's a true story. It makes for a good story. I even told that on the Yes Network during a game in the Yankee Stadium a few years ago. So, and it's been printed, and there's a great picture of the 2 of us. So I got hired then, and I was a ball boy down the left field line. My 3rd day was Catfish Hunter's perfect game against Minnesota, and that was the first American League perfect game in some 46 years. And I was on the field for all 27 outs.
Wow.
And, so that was special. And the next year I became like the assistant clubhouse manager, even though I was still in high school. Not paid well, but I got the position. And in 1974, took over the visiting clubhouse when the then equipment visiting clubhouse manager went on to the Angels. So it's been a great career. In 1994, I became the home equipment manager and clubhouse manager and stayed there through the 2022 spring training.
Well, an amazing 54 years. And, as a point of reference, that's longer than Connie Mack was employed by the Athletics when they were in Philadelphia, and he actually owned the team, so he had a little say in his employment that you didn't have. So it's remarkable, and it was so much fun when you came to Philadelphia with the A's, a few years ago when we were both still working. I guess it was more than a few for me, but anyway, there's a statue of Connie Mack outside of the ballpark, and you and I had lunch, and then I took you over there and got a fabulous picture with you next to the statue. And, I'll forever remember that day. It was great.
Well, I'll never forget that year in the winter meetings. That was the year I was presented with my ring from the MLB Clubhouse Managers Association. And that was a surprise to me, especially since I was on the committee. So they met without me. But Louis
yes, we did.
Louis Kakuza started off with a picture of in this day and age with all these statues coming down. They showed Robert E. Lee's statue coming down, Saddam Hussein statue coming down. They threw a picture up there of me trying to push Connie Mack over, and it just really fit in. It was so funny and so enlightening, and then to get the ring right after that was so special. It's a ring I wear more than anything, even more than my wedding ring.
Well, I'm going to see a few of those today in Cooperstown from some of the previous winners, and including myself, and I'm sure proud to wear that ring and to have that ring. It means so much.
Absolutely. It's a real special award.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, this is not your only Hall of Fame. You were actually inducted. I know you've been in a couple others, the Cactus League Hall of Fame, the famous league out in Arizona where, well, I guess Palm Springs was a farm or a spring training team town, I should say, of the Angels for a lot of years. They were part of the Cactus League too. So primarily Arizona spring training homes. You're in that Hall of Fame. You're in is it the Castro Valley Hall of Fame?
That's true. My hometown.
Yeah, your hometown. And just recently, the year you retired, in the Oakland A's Hall of Fame, which is absolutely incredible. And I think all 60 of us were really proud to see one of our guys get an honor like that. So whenever they bring back the Oakland Hall of Famers, there's Steve right there with them and right where he belongs.
Thank you, Frank. I'm also in another Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, tell us.
It was the first one. And one of my very best friends, Dave Perrin, worked for Michael Milken, who was in charge of the Prostate Cancer Research Hall of Fame. And through our contacts at Rawlings, I used to buy uniform jerseys for Michael Milken to give to his $1 million donors. So one day they decided to put me in the Prostate Cancer Research Hall of Fame. So that's actually the first one. And I tell people it's not because I was a test model or anything. It's just I helped them do that, and they wanted to honor me that way. And that got me one picture in their program, and that was it. But it's nice. It's now 1 of 4, and I can't really say today is a Hall of Fame entry, but it's being honored by the Hall of Fame, and that's okay.
Yeah, well, it is entry because you're entering the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown has been gracious enough to display our plaque there, from now on. So our group is getting some long overdue recognition by the Hall of Fame and having the plaque there. But, you're not part of the Baseball Hall of Fame, but, like a trainer or like a public relations person, the plaque is there, and it's our own Hall of Fame. And I think that really makes it extra special, honestly.
Absolutely. It's like I said earlier, it's nice to be honored, to be considered, and to see our group finally getting due recognition.
So we're going to talk about the rest of the guys going into the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Hall of Fame today, right after these messages. So stand by. All right, we're back with Steve Vucinich. We're talking all about the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Association and his entry into their inaugural class or inaugural Hall of Fame class today. And they're having a very big day in Cooperstown. The Baseball Hall of Fame gracious enough to include our group's plaque among their collection now. And we'll have a great luncheon afterwards, and it's going to be a spectacular day and one I'm sure we're going to always remember. But in addition to Steve, there are 6 other gentlemen that we want to talk a little bit about. And Steve, the first one is your old counterpart from right across the bay with the San Francisco Giants, Mr. Mike Murphy. And just to let all the viewers and listeners know, Murph, as he's so affectionately known, started when the Giants moved there in 1958. He had been a bat boy for the old San Francisco Seals of the Pacific Coast League prior to that. And Murph stayed there for 65 years with the Giants. He's the only guy who has more time than you.
I used to say, Murph, you can retire tomorrow and I'm still not going to catch you because I ain't lasting 10 more years.
119 years, if my math is correct, between you and Murph of clubhouse management in the Bay Area. But talk about Murph a little bit, if you would, Bruce.
You know, Murph, when he took over the home clubhouse in the, I think it was probably late 60s, the home side, because he was on the visitors before that, he was like one of the young Turks. There were so many older equipment managers that had lasted, and we'll talk about a few of them later. But so he was one of the young equipment managers at the time. And I don't know of any equipment manager is more beloved by so many of his former teammates or players. I mean, he and Will Clark probably have as close a relationship as I've ever heard between an equipment clubhouse manager and a player. And I was there for Murph's retirement last season, and Will Clark gave the biggest hug that anybody could give to Mike Murphy on the field. And it just shows you the love and affection they have for each other and also their respect.
Well, another big name, too. In fact, I'm going to have to even go a little bit bigger than Will Clark. And with all due respect to him, Willie Mays and Mike Murphy were pretty good pals for basically since Murph started with the Giants.
Whether it was Candlestick or the new ballpark AT&T, you could walk into Murph's office and almost every day see Willie Mays there.
Yeah,
and Willie and him were tight. And though Willie had only won a World Series in New York, when the Giants beat, I think, Texas for their first championship, the first person Murph called was Willie and said, "Hey, Willie, we did it." Yeah. And Murph tells that story, and I hope maybe we can get him to tell it later today. But that's a special relationship too.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the others. And this is a gentleman I never knew, but we certainly have heard of him. The Clubhouse Manager of the Year award is named after him, Mr. Pete Sheehy, longtime clubhouse manager of the New York Yankees. And when I say long time, folks, I'm talking during the days of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, an incredible career. Talk about rubbing elbows with all the all-time greats of the game. And you knew him a little bit, didn't you, Steve?
I did. I was in a visiting clubhouse, and they finally had all the equipment managers start traveling in the 70s. So I'd always heard about Pete, and actually he was called Little Pete back in the day. But what a fine gentleman. He'd sit there puffing on a cigarette, and everybody go up to him, and standard line was, "Hey, what are you doing today?" "I'm just packing my trunks for spring training," in a soft voice. And but the story goes that Eddie Logan, who we'll talk about in a minute, his dad was both the clubhouse manager for the Yankees and the Giants. And back in the day, back in the late 20s, early 30s, I think Mr. Logan Sr. passed away. So Eddie took over the Giants and Pete took over the Yankees. And that's how they came to be. And he lasted all the way up to Reggie Jackson. So when you talk about the scope from Babe Ruth to Reggie, there's really only one connection, and it's Pete Sheehy.
Pretty incredible run for sure. So let's talk about Eddie Logan with the New York and San Francisco Giants, the guy that actually hired Mike Murphy. So you know how long ago that was.
Absolutely.
And talk about him if you would, Steve.
Eddie, like I said, had taken over the Giants, and his dad was there also. But he came out west with the Giants, cost him a divorce. He always say, "Yeah, best thing ever happened is I came out west and got divorced." And he was kind of like a staple for the Giants at the time with a lot of the old guy, Frank Berganzi and Eddie Brannick. But he was a very nice gentleman. Like I said, he hired Murph. Murph had experience with the SEALs, so that was a natural for Eddie. And Eddie suffered a heart attack in the late 60s and didn't travel after that, but he remained with the club, I think, through the early 80s.
So he too is going to be on that plaque with the inaugural class today. And, think about that, from the Polo Grounds to the SEAL Stadium to Candlestick Park. Pretty amazing.
It is. It's I think he had more home stadiums than anybody, but he was a class unto himself. Another guy that was well respected by Willie McCovey and Willie Mays and Juan Marichal. So there was always a constant love between the staff of the Giants and the players and coaching staff. And I think that came from the Horace Stoneham family, being a family-oriented, owned and operated ball club.
Okay. All right. So the next guy is besides you and Murph, is the real reason I'm in Cooperstown today. Mr. Butch Yakiman of the St. Louis Cardinals, 59 years with the Cardinals. Think about this one. He was there during the Gas House gang. We're talking Pepper Martin, Dizzy Dean, guys like that, Enos Slaughter, Stan Musial, all the way through the 1982 World Series. I wouldn't be having this show today if it wasn't for Butch, because he's the guy that hired me. And but between him and the legendary Buddy Bates and Jerry Risch, who persuaded Butch to give this minor league clubhouse manager a chance to come to the big leagues, that's how I got there, and really proud to be a part of his legacy for sure.
I only met Butch one time, and it was when the A's were out of town. And I wasn't traveling, and I went over to Candlestick Park, and I forget who from the Cardinals I was visiting, and Murph introduced me to Butch, and Butch and I sat there and talked for a few minutes, and he told me, "Why don't you go to law school? You should go to law school." I don't regret not going, believe me. But he was such a nice gentleman. There's stories abound about him and how he stayed on for an extra year because Whitey Herzog told him we'll win the World Series next year, and they did.
That's right. He called it. He did for sure. And it was great. It was a great night. The Cardinals and Mr. August Busch Jr., Gussie Busch, as he was known to so many people, the owner of the team, and the beer baron, the Budweiser Anheuser-Busch beer baron, drove a car out onto the field and presented it to Butch on his day, along with a lot of other gifts. And it was a retirement day like a player would get. I mean, you don't see that very often. I know you had one, but it was pretty cool to be there for Butch's day for sure.
I love the story about the players with contacts with TWA, got him round trip, first class airfare, anywhere he wanted to go. And TWA was a worldwide airline. He could have gone anywhere, could have gone to Paris, could have gone anywhere. Instead, the next year he used it to go to probably the shortest route TWA flies, St. Louis to Chicago.
Well, to talk about, one of the gifts he got from, I believe it was the National League Clubhouse Managers, and Jerry Risch, the longtime visiting clubhouse manager of the Cardinals, presented it on their behalf out on the field to Butch, was a VCR with a corded remote. And the thing was huge. It was like the size of a cigar humidor, a tabletop humidor. and I think it was like $1,200.
Sure.
They would give you like $20 to take it now. Pretty amazing how times have changed.
But it shows you the respect we had.
Yeah, exactly. So the next guy, also a legend. He's in the Cubs Walk of Fame. He's there for 65 years, Mr. Yosh Kawano. I knew him a little bit. Steve, you knew him even better. Talk about Yosh.
Yosh was a guy that I believe started working for the Cubs when they trained over in Catalina before they came to Arizona. And I think he was just he shined shoes. The joke was the Japanese dropped him off there during World War II, and it's not true. But it's really funny is he had everything on an envelope. He didn't have a piece of paper. He kept an envelope in his upper left-hand pocket of a white T-shirt, something he wore every day. And I'll never forget spring training back in then. You didn't have your full year complexes like you have now. So we were training in Mesa. They were in Scottsdale. The Giants were in Phoenix. And after a few days of being down here before camp opened up, we'd all get our telephone lines. None of the phone numbers did you keep from year to year because you shut down after 6 weeks. So Yosh would make himself available at the Pink Pony restaurant downtown Scottsdale, legendary Pink Pony restaurant. And he'd sit there and everybody come in and give him their phone numbers and we'd have dinner or drinks and then go on. So he was kind of the organizer. But the funny thing is he used to call and he'd ask Frank Coppenbarger, my predecessor, or myself, how you do this, how you do that? And we'd say, Jesus, Yosh, you've been in the game 40 years more than us. You should be telling us what to do. But he just wanted to make sure, and it goes back to what I said about the founding of this organization, make sure we're all trying to do it on the same page, the same way. So you can say he was a leader in that.
Oh, absolutely. And he was in all those meetings when we first started the association officially in 1992. Yosh was there and he sat through all those meetings, and, you know, every once in a while he'd have something to say about it too. And it was good.
That's when he stayed awake.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the next guy on the list is the very popular Bernie Stowe, a Cincinnati Reds lifer, 67 years with the Reds. Started as a bat boy, ended up being the equipment manager and clubhouse manager for so many years. You know, the famous years of the Big Red Machine. His sons, Rick and Mark, followed in his footsteps and are still with the Reds today. Even some grandsons have worked in the clubhouse. Rick and Mark. Rick is the head home clubhouse manager. Mark's his right-hand man. And for a lot of years, Mark was the head visiting clubhouse manager. So talk about the Stowe family, if you would.
I think that's probably baseball's, that the Kakuza family are like baseball's first families from the clubhouse. I first met Bernie during the 72 series where the A's happened to derail the Big Red Machine, by the way. Anyway, met him then and got to know him later. And we played back there in the 90 World Series and really got to know Rick and Mark even during that time. So it's I think it's a real honor. When I told Rick that we were doing this, it was this year, and I ran into him down at the Phoenix ballpark. God, he almost started crying. He was so enamored by the fact that we were honoring his dad that way. And it's only deserving. And he was quite the gentleman.
Absolutely. Such a fun guy. And always, it seemed like he was always in a great mood. And I know when he passed, seeing so many comments from the Reds greats like Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, all those kind of guys, you know, they looked at him as like the 26th player back when they only had 25. I mean, that's how much they respected him. And the Stowe family is highly regarded in Cincinnati. And when Marty Brenneman was doing the Reds games, hardly a day went by that he didn't mention one of the Stowes on the broadcast. They were popular for sure.
For sure. He, Marty, I think it was Rick that told me they considered Marty their PR official.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, there's a lot more guys that are certainly deserving and will be part of this going forward. lot of long timers, the Tyler boys in Baltimore. Talk about that family a little bit, if you would, Steve.
You know what, that family, I mean, Jimmy used to be the visiting clubhouse manager, and then Fred took over for him when Jimmy went over to the home side. And then their father was a longtime clubhouse manager in the umpires room, and even into his 80s would run the balls out to the umpires. Fortunately, in Baltimore, it wasn't as long distance like a lot of the ballparks are now, but a well-respected family, the Tyler family. I had my picture taken, and Mickey Morbido, myself, and the two Tylers, and it was like 200 some odd years in Major League Baseball between the four of us. So longevity, I think, is so important to us. I think that's why a lot of us stay there, just because it's so much fun to be in.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, and then the game itself, like everybody says, you can go to a ballpark any day and see something you've never seen before. Well, that's true also for the clubhouse and any situation that might arise in the clubhouse with equipment, food, whatever. But the Tyler family, that's American League Baseball royalty, just like the Cocuzas and the Stoves in Cincinnati.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So many other guys. Tony Carullo, the longtime visiting clubhouse manager of the Mets, honored by the Mets this year. I was able to be there that day, and really proud of him. And no doubt he'll be on that plaque one day. John Holland with the Braves forever, over 50 years. He'll be on that plaque. So many guys. You know, Buddy Bates, Jerry Risch, heck, Brian Prilliman with San Diego. There's just so many guys, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some guys too. And you know, a lot of young guys that are starting to accumulate a lot of years. Rip Rowan with the Cardinals started out, I think he was 12 years old when he started working there, and he's still there. Rip's dad Ken was the stadium painter, and he brought Rip around when he was just a little guy, and Buddy Bates and Jerry Risch took him in, and he was a bat boy for several years, then started working in the clubhouse. Then he ran the home clubhouse after Buddy moved to the minor leagues to Florida, and now Rip's over on the visiting side. So he's just another guy. There's a long list of guys that certainly are going to be there one day.
And I think we did a great job of catching up with the five that have passed on. I think those are five that should go in the original class. I'm not so sure I'm deserving, but I know Murph is. But
you're deserving.
It was important to have somebody around like myself that remembered all those guys, for one thing. It shows you how old I am. But and Murph can tell stories. I mean, there's Hooley that was in Pittsburgh for years. Yeah. You know, some of the stories about him are priceless.
Oh, absolutely. Jim Schmeichel with the Detroit Tigers, recently retired. Another guy, 40 plus years. You know, you just stop and think for a second, and they just start coming to you.
Absolutely.
Ton of guys. Going to see a bunch of them today. We're really excited about that. Vuce, congratulations once again to you and the other six guys. Well deserved. And I brought out my special uniform for this podcast, a shirt that was put out the year you retired, and I'm wearing it proudly here today, buddy.
Well, I'm glad that they sold at least one.
I bought mine too. I kind of thought maybe I'd get a free one, but when nothing arrived, I decided to buy my own.
I got a few extra in the garage.
All right. Well, Steve Vucinich, congratulations. Congratulations to all the other guys. Thanks to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And this has been a great show. Great catching up, talking about the legacy and the history of the Major League Baseball Clubhouse Managers Association. And so until next week, I want to say one more thing. I want to thank my wife, Kathy, who has allowed me to attend this event today on our wedding anniversary. And she deserves kudos for that. Honey, I love you. Thank you so much. And Steve, happy anniversary yesterday for you.
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah, 35 years so.
Yeah. So anyway, It's going to be a great day in Cooperstown today. We're all looking forward to it. And thanks again, Steve. And everybody, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Fans First Sports Network. And we'll be back again next week with another exciting guest.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Planes, Trains, Buses, and Ballparks with Frank Coppenbarger. Tune in next week for another great episode on the Fans First Sports Network.